Hey guys, Ricky Widmer here from Most Valuable Podcast. You're about to listen to a little bit of our primetime podcast that we recorded this week. Make sure to go to BlogTalkRadio / Most Valuable Podcast for our full-length podcast that you can go ahead and download. I hope you enjoy it. I know me and Brandon did recording it.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Are the Baylor Bears in more trouble than we thought previously? Is Duke basketball in a world of hurt? And are the Gonzaga Bulldogs really on their way to greatness? We're going to find out tonight here on the Primetime Podcast. Brandon Swanson, Ricky Widmer.
I'm on this side now.
Ricky moved over. Ricky moved over.
Like, if you're on Blog Talk Radio, it sounds the same. You're like, okay, I hear a different voice. But, yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm on the other side now. So this feels weird. This isn't the fast break. This is a Primetime Podcast. But, yeah, I'm on the other side now.
You are on the other side. How does it feel?
It's, like I said, it feels like Dave should be here because that's what I'm used to. But it's nice having all this room to kind of do what I like with.
Sure. I'm not sure what you're going to do with that.
I can sit over here, or I can come over and I can sit closer to the camera, but I can't do that. I don't know how Dave does it, but I'm excited to talk about college sports today. A little football, basketball action we got going on today.
A little football, basketball action. And Ricky, I actually was the one for the fans. Ricky is usually the one who comes up with the topics and shoots them over to me, and I take a look at them and then dive into them a little bit. But
you really give your final say on it.
Oh, sure.
You're the one that gives the final blessing.
Yeah, usually I'm at work and I look at it on my email. I'm like, good to go. But I actually was the one who brought up the topics for today, and this first one I really wanted to take a look at, Ricky, and this first one we'll dive right into is Baylor. And we had talked a lot about Baylor over the summer with their scandal, and 2 podcasts on this exact subject before. We've done plenty with Baylor, but there was something that surfaced on Twitter over the weekend that I saw, and that's how I kind of jumped at it because I thought that we were moving past this. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we are. So the Washington Post published an article that headlines: lawsuit alleges Baylor football rape scandal more widespread than reported. And then in the first paragraph, it reads: a federal lawsuit filed Friday alleged that at least 31 football players at Baylor University committed at least 52, quote, acts of rape, end quote, over 4 years, including 5 gang rapes, 2 of which involved 10 or more players at the same time, some of whom videotaped the rapes on their phones and passed the recordings around to teammates. And that's just the first paragraph.
It's sickening. It is absolute, hearing what you just read, actually hearing it makes me sick to my stomach. And when I was thinking about it today, after you texted me oh, these are the 3 topics, and after I'm like, okay, yeah, I like these. These are really good topics. You start to think about it. You start to kind of dive in and obviously research the topic a little bit. And the main thought that I had about Baylor, and it mainly goes to the question of, you threw out, of should they get the death penalty, because of the sick feeling I got in my gut. Is there any way you could say no? I mean, I immediately thought about what happened at Penn State. I mean, it's not the exact same thing, but you're telling me that this isn't at least on the same level as what happened at Penn State. The only difference is this didn't involve kids. That's the only difference. And to me, I just reading it, 5 gang rapes, getting the video passed around a school. I think that this is the exact meaning of when they use the phrase lack of institutional control. That's exactly what this is. Lack of institutional control is what we're seeing right here. What is coming out of the woodwork like cockroaches.
I think it's not only a lack of kind of institutional control and things like that, but I think it's also a lack of it's certainly a lack of poor judgment by I think the football program to know that some of these things were going on, because they did know that some of these things were going on, and they hid them, and they hid them for the reason of not bringing light to something that is terrible, not bringing light to something that happened. I mean, I don't think that you have 17 women come forward and all 17 of these women are lying. I just don't think that that's going to happen. And I think that it's really reprehensible. It really is. I mean, that's the word that they use in this article. Reprehensible, just terrible that this is continuing to come out, because what was the number? The number, I believe it was 19 players were accused of domestic or sexual assault by 17 women. That's what they had found. That's what they had originally found. And now saying at least 31 football players at Baylor University.
No fewer, at least 31.
And Baylor athletics officials, the lawsuit claims that Baylor athletics officials created a, quote, culture of sexual violence, end quote, by using the promise of sex to entice top football recruits. And one Baylor assistant says, "Do you like white women?" And then they said, because we have a lot of them at Baylor, they love football players. So I think that,
it's exactly what I said. It's sickening. Sickening.
Obviously, there are a ton of women on the I mean, you're having a big campus like Baylor. You've got obviously a ton of men, ton of women. And yes, some of them have wonderful experiences with some wonderful football players. But unfortunately, for these 17, now 18 women, they did not. They did not. And I find it hard.
It's not just that. Their lives are ruined.
I find it hard to see that we have an article in the Washington Post, a reputable newspaper.
Yeah, it's not some blog by Joe Blow.
Yeah, exactly. This is stuff that has happened. And again, reading 5 gang rapes, 2 of which involved 10 or more players at the same time, and some of them videotaped them. That is disgusting. It's disgusting. And Ricky, you said it. Those lives of those women,
they're ruined.
They are ruined. They are ruined forever.
And I'm not saying that as because this happened, you can't come back from it. But it's one of those things where, like, I can't imagine what it must feel like to have had that happen to you and to just feel for the victim. That's why I say their lives are ruined. And I look at this story, and not to get all like social justice warrior, you see like all white knight about this story, but the thing that I hate about it most is this is what, and it really has a lot of similarities to what we see in our culture today, how women are depicted, how women are treated. There's a reason why so many women not too long ago got together in different cities to get together just to say we are here and we are going to stand for what we believe in. And I just, if Baylor doesn't get the death penalty, there is something massively wrong, because the first thing I'm going to think of, and maybe this isn't right, but it will be the first thing that crosses my mind, is, okay, so it's not okay if someone does it to a child, but if someone does it to just a regular college woman, then the NCAA is saying that's okay. That's what will go through my mind, because immediately what I will compare this to is Penn State, because in my lifetime, since I've been a college football fan, I'm not really going to say my lifetime, because when I was an early kid, I like college sports. I wasn't as attached to it as I am now. My first real love was the NFL, which then got me into college football, and where I really it started from there. But Yeah, that's what I'm going to attach it to, is this is going to be linked with, in my mind, the Penn State scandal. And really, it's if they got the death penalty, then Baylor deserves the death penalty. And the one thing you got to think of, I know that we talked about, the AD, the president, basically all the way up the chain. This doesn't just stay with the athletic department. You got to go also to the top and the head of the school. And like I said, we did bring up the president when we talked about it before, the president of the university, that is. Everyone's at fault. Everyone is at fault, especially, and because of this, because of what you said with the promise to recruits of sex, I said it before, I will say it again. Usually I'm not like this, but I will. I hope Art Briles never gets a job again. Usually I am okay, you get a second chance, then if you ruin that second chance, then you're done. But this is something where if you're in charge of recruiting, and you can give that lie all you want of, it was an assistant coach, it wasn't me, it was your staff. And I hope he never gets a job at any level of football, any level, high school, college, nothing. If I'm concerned, you're done being a football coach. Find something else to do.
And one of the things I wanted to bring up was that the lawsuit alleged that Baylor enticed them, to bring them in to football recruits with the promise of sex. Not that they actually did.
If it's true, then everything I say.
You don't want to get wrapped up in fake news or alternative facts. But you certainly want to be able to say that the lawsuit alleges that happened. Before
everyone starts commenting, if it's true, I stand by those comments.
I think that you're right. I think that Art Briles, I know I said it a while back when we talked about it in the summer. I can't believe that as a football coach, as a guy who, what's your job as a football coach? To get these players ready to win games, but to also make these better men. Make them better men, better characters, better guys who can go out into the world, do something with themselves, do something with their lives, and improve and hopefully help the lives of other people. And clearly, he did not do any of those things outside of helping them to win some football games. Mm-hmm. But he certainly did not make them better men off the field. That is clear. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up, though, is that one person who commented on Twitter, when I saw this article, I saw this article on Twitter, and someone brought up a point of if Penn State didn't even get the death penalty for what happened there, then Baylor certainly is not getting the death penalty. And even some of the things that were brought on Penn State, some of those things were lifted eventually. Ricky, your thoughts? I know that you are saying kind of strongly right now that if these are true, if these new things that have been brought to light are true, you're saying death penalty for sure.
Well, it's one of those things of, at this point in time, Baylor should, in my mind, get the death penalty. Now, the reason why we call it a death penalty is, look at Penn State. Their program was dead for those years. And then it took a man, I'm going to say a man because Bill O'Brien did a great job kind of coming in, showing what Penn State football can be, what it should be. And then, look, the death penalty was then taken off. They're not in the death penalty anymore. Penn State football is fine. We're not hearing anything of scandal anymore for right now at Penn State. And I know what you're saying. Well, Ricky, we didn't hear about the scandal when it was going on, so you really never know what's going on behind closed doors, even though I'm not trying to say that anything is. With Baylor, though, they need the death penalty. I'm going to say they need it until Baylor can find that guy to come in and resurrect this program. And the one thing that even makes me, and this is to go back a little bit with the Art Briles thing, because I wanted to look it up before I said which way I was going to phrase it. We all know that Art Briles is married, has a wife, but the thing that is even more troublesome to me is he has a daughter, at least one daughter, and the one that I'm looking at is his daughter Staley, who is married, and she's Staley Levy, not Staley Briles anymore. But the thing that I would think of, and maybe this is because it's just a point of if I was a father, what I would think of, it would make me sick to my stomach to know that my football players were involved with this, because the first thing I would think of is, what if that was my daughter? What if that was my daughter? I know that's the thing that everyone says, but that's the only way it is going to mean something to you personally if you put it into the shoes of, I mean, he's got a niece, he's got a daughter. Like, there are ways that it should have been personal to Art Briles, to where he should have said, this isn't right, something needs to happen. But two things happened. One, Art Briles is in the business of winning football games, and you got to win football games to keep your job. And two, it kind of goes back to a thing I think about where there's a human instinct in us, and we've had it since we were kids. I know I did. I had it when I was a kid. You do something wrong, and I'm not saying something as catastrophic as this, but how many times have you, and you guys can answer this in the comment section, have done something as a kid, and your first thought was, well, fuck, I don't want to tell my parents, I'm going to get in trouble. Everyone's got that. Everyone has that. But what builds the character? What do they say is the right thing to do? You man up, or you woman up, and you say, you know what? I made this mistake. I'm sorry. I did this. It was wrong. And hopefully whoever is on the other side forgives you because you are sorry. That didn't happen here. It didn't happen. And it got swept under the rug because we got to, that's my big thing. We got to win football games. Well, to me, and maybe it was because before I'm doing what I do now for my day job, I used to teach. And the biggest thing for me wasn't just teaching the students about the lesson. It was also preparing them to be adults. You're doing the same thing as a coach. And in that sense, I'm going to say Art Briles failed in that mission, making these young men at the Baylor football program better people, because better people would not do this.
Ricky, I'm going to throw something at you here, and I want you to kind of take it when I throw it out there to you. Take it, digest it, see what your thought is. So here's an example of a team that did get the death penalty. Okay. So this was SMU, Southern Methodist University. So this is the Southern Methodist University football program scandal. It was also known as Ponygate. Incident in which the football program at SMU investigated, punished for massive violations of NCAA rules, regulations. So, of course, obviously, death penalty is the harshest thing that can happen to a team in the NCAA. And it was the maintenance of a slush fund that was used for under-the-table payments to players from the mid-1970s through 1986. And this all culminated into the death penalty. The entire 1987 schedule was kaput, and they were allowed to come back in 1988, but they sat that out. They opted out of that season because it would be impossible to field a stable team. Ricky, my question to you, after just reading that, and SMU's football team was given the death penalty for a slush fund for under-the-table payments to players. Now, this is back in a different time, different era. NCAA now, they could not even do that for Penn State, and they have yet to do that for Baylor. Is the NCAA soft?
Well, the thing I first think of is you brought up that, which I'm just getting it straight because the Ponygate was outside of my realm. That was just, like you said, paying players under the table, basically playing them for your pay. Isn't that similar to what USC did? USC, I mean, the agents, the Reggie Bush, the getting things for playing and getting recruits into the door, promising them stuff like that. And they got a 2-year postseason ban. And I'm looking at an article right now that was written 6 years ago, and the headline reads, USC Sports receives harsh penalties. Well, to me, I feel like something like this, and I would love to know what you guys think, because this is what's most important. We give our opinions, and then we get your opinions down in the comment section, and we make this the conversation that it is. I would think that it would be a no-brainer, or at least in my mind, a no-brainer that Baylor deserves the death penalty until we figure out, or in my mind, until we can find the right person who wants to come in and resurrect this program. Because right now, this program is not on good footing. And I say that not wins and losses or anything to do on the field. Right now, it's like I mentioned a lot with it. Was this the fast break that I'm thinking? I can't even think straight now. But it's one of those things whenever a team wants to bring in a head coach, the first thing I think of is, oh, you want a guy like Luke Walton with the Lakers. Right now, he's trying to build that winning culture. That's the key word here. Who's going to be that coach to come in and fix the culture that's wrong at Baylor? Now, it's going to be hard because players won't want to play for a team that is under the death penalty because you get limited scholarships, and basically they call it the death penalty for a reason, because your program is basically dead. But I think that it needs to happen for Baylor, and part of me, not to kind of point the finger or anything, but this is a thought I had today, and I want to bounce it off of you, Brandon, is if it was you, would you think, if you were the NCAA, you know what, let's just do our due diligence. Let's do an investigation, a little house cleaning here for the entire Baylor athletic program. Kind of if it's happening in one sport, it might be happening with a different team. Not to say that it is, but let's just make sure that it's not an athletic department issue and just a football issue.
I think that's extremely important. I think that right now Baylor is in such dire straits right now because, again, obviously this story comes out. That's no good. I think that you really do have to take a look internally at everything. And obviously it was taking a look at the football program, but who's to say that couldn't be happening somewhere else? If your president, your athletic director, weren't able to see what was going on here in a football program, probably your biggest program, football, and probably the biggest moneymaker. How are you not?
Oh, it is the biggest moneymaker.
How are you not able to see what's going on? How do you not have any impact on what's going on or any direction? I mean, being able to see. I mean, I see an athletic director. I know in my job, I see the contact that the athletic director has with coaches. They have meetings. They have discussions. They have talks. He knows what's going on. There's a lot of other people in it as well. It's not just him and the coach and that's it. There's other people involved. There's compliance. There's this, there's that. People know. People know what's going on. So the athletic director, I guarantee you, he had to have known this could be a very big systemic problem. My kind of final thought before we wrap up this segment, and I throw it over to you for your final thought. Okay. My final thought, Baylor football should be canceled in 2017.
I want to say death penalty. The only reason why I don't know if I want to go as far as canceled in 2017 is because I want to say it's Coach Rowe. That's who I think of. The man who they just hired to become the head football coach of Baylor. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Ricky, it's one of those things where Coach Rule, I feel for him, it's one of those things where if we just came out and canceled the 27 season for Baylor, that would be me saying, why am I punishing this man for something he did not do? And I know you're saying, well, but Ricky, we're really punishing the Baylor football program, but that's what I think about. Why punish this man who did such a great job at Temple that I'm hoping Baylor brought in to right the ship. If they didn't, then they're idiots, and I have no problem saying that. I think that Baylor deserves the death penalty, and like I said, I hope it's Matt Rule. I hope it's him to be the Bill O'Brien for Baylor, to bring them out of it. They need to find the man, and I'm going to not say the coach, I'm saying the man that is going to bring Baylor out of these dark times and bring the football team out of these dark times, because it's not something where I think that, you know what, just get rid of it and you can never have a football team again. But I do believe in, here's the death penalty. You're as close to death as possible as a program. Come back from this.
And the reason why I say cancel 2017 is because, yes, I see it. I see that there are good guys on that team. I understand that. And I do feel for them. I think that it would be terrible to have it canceled. But if you cancel the 2017 season, you give him an opportunity to recruit, go out to these guys, and say...
So you'd still be paying
and say, yes.
Okay, then
yes.
I'm
still paying him.
I can get on board with that.
I'm still paying him because he still has to go out and recruit for when we're good to go in 2018.
Okay.
Because you're going to go out, you're going to say to guys, hey, we're clean. We've cleaned it up. We have had a year in rehab. We've cleaned it up. The system is clean. We're good to go. We're not going to be under the microscope anymore. We want to do it the right way. And send him out there and go get guys.
I'm on board with that. And not the only thing I would change is maybe not cancel it, because I would death penalty, which would lead to postseason bans and the Big 12 championship game that'll be coming back. Obviously, that would be in that postseason ban, but then it could give him a chance to, because I kind of feel like it'll be hard to build a culture without football actually going on. This is the big year where he can try to get the players out that are not going to fit this culture, and basically say this is our culture from day one.
All right, well, there you have it. Make sure you comment down below. I know it was a long segment, but it was one that was needed and we needed to talk about.
Well, thank you guys for checking out this video from the Primetime Podcast. If you want to check out more, click right over here. The video's right over here. Check it out. Check it out.